South by Southwest is one of the most incredible events. People come across all over Earth. I was just coming down my condo and these people were speaking Portuguese. I'm like, where are you from? They're from Rio de Janeiro. So pretty cool, and it's amazing to see you guys. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you to Andrea and Joseph for putting on such an incredible event. Everyone, please give them a round of applause. So I want to talk to you guys about the American dream. Who here has heard of the American dream? Who wants the American dream? Okay, everybody wants the American dream. So the American dream, I want to break down 3 key components for anybody here that's listening now can leave this with some substance so you can actually also achieve the American dream. And I want to break down how to do it in detail. And the first thing that I would say to become successful, not just in America, but in the world, is first action. Americans respect action. They respect the risk takers. They don't necessarily respect the smartest, the most well-connected, someone who maybe came from the right resources. They respect people that despite what's happening in the world, despite where they came from, despite where they're immigrating from, what they're trying to start, they just simply do. And when I was back in, some of you guys may know my story, some of you may don't, but I played junior college football. I was in Brooklyn, New York. I was in a shoot smaller than this stage with about 4 other big teammates, and we're all trying to figure out how to be successful. And it was a turning point in my life because I started studying what it took to be successful in the world and in America. And you hear all these things like, do you have to come from money? Do you have to know the right people? There's so many different things that come across. And I started reading and reading and studying and studying. There was one common trait for everyone is that they just took action. And when they were taking that initial first step, it was almost certain that it didn't make sense to do it at that moment. And a lot of you guys have already done that. That's why you're here. That's why you're successful entrepreneurs. And some of you guys are working towards that, whether it's a next venture or it's something big that you want to accomplish. And what I found is a lot of the reason why we don't start, or we don't take the risk, we don't start the company, we don't leave the job, we don't start in a new industry, is not because we're not capable. Sometimes it's not even because we don't have the necessary resources, but because we're trying to solve a puzzle without even starting to put the pieces together. And so when you start taking those steps, you change into the person that it takes to not only be able to succeed at what you're trying to accomplish, but you become that person. So the world, the entire universe, the second you start taking action, starts conspiring in your favor to make that happen. And I don't know, who here has started something for the first time and succeeded? Raise your hand. Okay, who has started a new job or a new industry? At first it was pretty scary, and then you did it, and somehow you're like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. Okay, when you started, did you feel like you were going to 100% succeed and that it was going to be perfect? No. Nobody did, right? And one thing that I'm sure you can look back on your lives and remember is that once you started taking those initial steps, suddenly weird occurrences started happening. You suddenly get a call from someone you haven't talked to since high school. And you're like, hey, someone told me you're starting this, and they're in the same industry. Or suddenly you're at a coffee shop or you're at a conference and someone's like, hey, I like your jacket. You're like, what do you do? Well, I'm actually starting this. And then that one connection opens up a massive, massive door. Those weird occurrences seem to only happen when you start. And the quickest way to see if you're going to be successful, if you're just a little off, a little crazy, to where you just keep going no matter how difficult it is. Okay, so the second thing is relationships. You can take all the action in the world, but you cannot build alone. You have to have a team, you have to have people that support you, and you have to have people to invest in your idea, and you got to have customers. Because if you don't have customers, people aren't paying for your products and services, and you are not staying in business. And so one rule that I've had that has served me so well, and it seems like everyone here is great, amazing, successful people, you could probably attest to this, is be obsessively kind to everyone you come across. Whether it's the person checking you in at the door, whether it's the CEO, whether it's a security person, whether it's this person that's an intern that's starting out the company you work for or the company you have. You never know when you may cross that bridge. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, it may be 50 years. And here's a secret that you don't always realize when you're in the midst of it. Sometimes that individual that you were nice to or you were kind to, or you opened up a relationship for, or got an interview for, they end up opening or closing a door that you never will know about. The one person said, hey, what do you think of this person? They're incredible. Love them. Top notch. And that one little advice got you the opportunity, got you the investment. And the same thing works in a negative way. You don't treat people the right way. You may have doors closed that you didn't even know closed because of the way that you treated somebody. I'll give you guys an example. So right before I started my first business, and I was working at a company, I was in sales, and I was moving my way up into management. It was the first time I was kind of experiencing some success. It was after that super low point that I had when I was in New York. I was back in Texas. And there was someone that worked in the finance department at this specific company. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the company just didn't like her. I have no idea why, but they talk bad about her all the time. Now, you would think that I was like this just the kindest person ever, and it was all these things, but it wasn't. I was just said, thank you. I said, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for working hard for us. I didn't do anything crazy. I was only kind and respectful. A year and a half later, I ended up starting my business. I started partnering with some contractors, and there was a specific installer that at the time was the largest in the United States. And getting a partnership with them was like an act of Congress. You couldn't do it. And out of nowhere, I got a direct message from this specific lady in the finance department who had gotten a job at that company I hadn't talked to in a year. And she said, Grant, I saw you started a company. I saw the way you ran the team in Houston and how well you did. I want to set up a meeting with you and the CEO. I had been trying to get in contact with these people for 5 months. And this is literally how the call went. They're like, hey, you know this? Okay, I love what you're doing. What's the revenue? What's this? Okay, cool. We're going to send over some stuff. We had one more 5-minute call. We sent over a contract. The deal was done. In 3 years, we did $55 million in revenue from that one connection. Wow. All I did was say thank you. And so my point to you guys is this one connection might be in this room. It might be when you're walking down the street later. It may be when you're at a conference. And usually it tends to happen when you least expect it. And Steve Jobs famously said, you can only connect the dots going backwards. And life makes sense when you look back and you understand why this bad thing happened, why you got laid off, why this industry didn't work out, why you were so successful here. It's easy to say that. But when the bullets are flying, it's tough. And the American marketplace has no sympathy for anybody because they're all driving their self-interest. And so that's where key relationships are going to open up doors for every person in here, not just in business, but in your relationships and in every area of your life. So just always remember, you never know who you're talking to. Okay, third is I want to give you guys some insight, and you guys might know this way more than me because you guys are all running great companies and are super successful. But let's talk about what America is going to look like over the next 20 years. So as you guys know, who here has heard of AI? Who here has heard of the internet? Who here has heard of robotics? Okay, these are all obvious things that we talk about. But how does that affect the marketplace? So AI is going to shock the world and the United States economy like something we have never seen before. Because the way that we think in terms of output and in terms of scaling any business, every rule is going to be broken. I'll give you a statistic and a prediction. I literally asked ChatGPT this. I said, at what year do you think there will be as much humanoid robots as humans? And you know what it said? 2050. It's 26 years away. So in about 25 to 26 years, there will be as much humanoid robots that are 10 times smarter than the smartest human. They don't get tired. They don't have kids to take to soccer practice. They don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend that broke up with them. And they will be operating 24/7. We all drove here and we saw the biggest building in Texas being built. That will be built 24/7, 7 days a week by robots that will not mess up one time. Now, when you think about that, it's kind of daunting because you're like, damn, if it's 10 times better than me, how am I going to make it? And so the best way I would tell you guys to look at this is AI, robotics, and the future of our economy is going to be heavily based on one major key component that every person here needs to be asking yourself. How much output is my business or what I do currently, what you do currently in your job, how much output are you producing? The best businesses do not win. The ones with the most output do. And people typically don't always buy the best product. They buy the products and services from the people that they know. So if you want to be successful over the next 25 years, you have to embrace change, and you cannot live in the past. If we spend just a year or 2 years of our life wishing things was different, you will get left behind. It's no different than all of the geniuses that told the world that the internet was a fad. They were obviously wrong. AI is going to be the same, but it's going to be even more transformative. So how this applies into your business, okay? One individual at a certain point within the next 20 years, maybe less, will have a one-person company that will produce over $1 billion in sales. One individual. And by 2070, there will likely be 10-to-1 ratio of robots to humans, which means you're going to flip to the owner instead of the worker, meaning people in here just individually will have 50 fleet of robo-taxis. You will have 50 to 100 robots, plus AI that will have thousands and thousands and thousands of sales reps that speak every language, that can call 24/7, that don't get tired, that what? Sell your business. So this time right now is when you create and you build and you collaborate. But this is the cool part, is that we're shifting, this is already occurring, we're shifting to a decentralized economy. So let's think about this. It used to take 20 to 30 years, a Harvard degree, someone that you know that works for the New York Times or Fox News. Now a single person in a month can have almost every country in the world see their videos and content through TikTok, through Instagram, through YouTube, through social media. And so the key is we need to all look at our own businesses as individual brands. When you create a brand, you become a monopoly. And that monopoly you can leverage to get into whatever business and industry that you choose to get into. And here's the key. You're going to have unbelievable economic output. Why? Because of AI. You won't have to worry about accounting. You won't need to spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars on a lawyer. All cost, food, rent, building homes, building buildings, the costs will drop so rapidly that we'll actually experience deflation on most service-based products. And so if you have a monopoly in your brand, meaning people love you, for your brand, for what you create, they will do business with you. And you'll be able to do it at a massive, tremendous output and be incredibly successful. This is where creativity, personality, and likability are truly going to win in the next 21st century and over the second half of this century. So this is the time to take advantage of it. And last, I want to leave you guys with this one thought, is certainty is the separator to success. Remember I talked about it earlier, you have to be a little crazy. You have to be absolutely certain, because anyone here, who here has ran a business or is running a business currently? Okay, so we have some more crazy people in here. You have to be certain. You're going to have people, as you know, you have employees quit, you have customers cancel, you also have the biggest deals of your life, and you're able to accomplish things that you never imagined. But it takes certainty, and you have to push past that moment. And if you do, you'll be tremendously successful and accomplish American dreams. So thank you guys. Cheers. Enjoy Austin, Texas. Thank you guys.